Hey everybody, so I wanted to do a video today about bills in a tiny house. Skoolie, bus, RV, whatever you got. A rolling home does have some bills attached to it, and I just wanted to kind of go over those because that was a big question I had before we got on the road. You know, what's really available out there? What do you really have to pay for? And hopefully this answers some of your questions. Again, this is just all, you know, what we do and what we figured out based on our lifestyle and our budget and what our needs are as a family. So anyway, I hope you learned something from it. So I guess the first thing to talk about would be your gas or diesel. You know, what makes this life exciting is that you can move it anywhere you want, but the biggest cost is going to be in actually moving your vehicle. Gas, diesel, that all just varies by state. We have found that if you stay in one place longer, you're saving a little bit of money. You're not paying as much in the fuel costs. So you know, obviously there's pros and cons. If you're sitting still longer, you're also not putting all that wear and tear on your vehicle. You know, tires, oil changes, just everything. I mean, the regular maintenance of a vehicle, you know, is something you have to worry about. And because we also drive our truck, we have two vehicles to worry about. So we do like to spend a little bit more time in one area. Also gives us the time to see if we like the space, because we are searching for a homestead. So we do find, you know, we do find ourselves kind of moving for a few days at a time and then finding a stopping point. But just kind of keep that in mind. If you are going to be constantly traveling, one of the biggest expenses of yours is going to be fuel. So the next thing to talk about, I guess, would be the rent and the water and electricity. Because sometimes rent will include your water and electric, and sometimes it's actually separate. So basically what we found is it can be anywhere from being free, if you're staying with friends or family on their land, up to, or BLM land even, truck stops, rest stops, Walmarts, you know, especially if you're overnighting in these locations to get to your final destination, that's going to be free. But then you can, you know, like where we're at right now, this guy invited us out here. We're paying $100 a month plus, you know, whatever the electric is. Another place we were at last year was a lady's land. It was just like this big acreage, and she had like a hookup and for water and electric. She charged us $200, and that was basically $100 for the spot, and then the $100 covered the electric. And if it went over $100, we just paid the difference, but we never went over $100. So that was another one. And then we find a lot of RV parks that do like $300 a month. Sometimes it's included. $300 plus electric on top of that, and I've found some even up to $600 something a month, and that's just not the kind of money we want to spend, not whenever there's so much to see and there's so many other things. If you find campgrounds and RV parks kind of farther out, away from the bigger cities, you're going to see a lot better deals, and it'll be a little bit more quiet, and they're really not that far away from towns anyway. So that is something that to keep in mind. It is cheaper than a mortgage of a house or the rental of a house, so you know, we do save money in that aspect. That was one of the big reasons we decided to live tiny, was to be able to save that cost. So you know, that's actually worked out really well. You know, and also I guess one point too that I wanted to make on this, you know, it's okay, you know, you stop at a rest area, you stop at a truck stop, you stop at a Walmart overnight, but remember that if you're one of those people that you're going to stay there for weeks at a time, remember that that affects the entire community of bus, schoolie, you know, tiny housers, RVers even. It affects all of us. And as a schoolie owner, it is hard to get into some RV parks because you have to have a certain requirement for, like, you know, 20 years, or, you know, it has to have a certain kind of look or a paint job, you know. And so sometimes it's hard to get into some of these RV parks. And honestly, if they're snobby like that, I don't want to be a part of their RV park anyway. But you know, I always have to send out an email with pictures of our rig, just to make sure that we're going to be accepted when we get there, because there are some you know, horror stories that I've heard about it, like people getting turned away and all this, and I didn't want to be one of those people. But I think maybe it is from a stereotype, you know, of bus people. So just remember, if you're one of the people staying at these places for weeks on end, it doesn't give us a really great name. It doesn't really help us out at all. So just remember, it affects the whole community. you know, whenever you're doing that. And you know, hopefully maybe just move around some more. Maybe find some more different spots to plop in, so you're not just staying in one spot for so long. I think the longest we stayed at any place at a truck stop was in Roswell, New Mexico. We ended up staying there, I think it was 2 nights, so like 3 days total. We were out on the outskirts away from everybody. We were just boondocking, and we were able to see the area and then leave. So that was kind of cool. It was our first time ever doing that. And but you know, just again, be mindful of your surroundings. You know, if you're not welcome, then just, you know, get going. And just remember there's other people out here on the road looking for spots as well. So. And also on the subject of water, while you're traveling on the road, you can actually find water a lot of places for free. Gas stations, truck stops usually have a hose, you know, or a faucet for you to, you know, plug your RV hose up to fill up your tanks. There was actually a gas station that we pulled up to in Idaho that had a fuel, you know, the fuel pump, but it also had a water faucet next to every single pump. So I thought that was cool. So we went ahead and topped everything off there. And where else? And then, you know, some RV parks and campgrounds will charge you for water. Like if you're just stopping to fill up your tanks, they'll charge you. I've never paid for water unless I'm actually staying at that location, like the RV park or whatever. But anytime, like if I'm just filling up on the road, it's usually free. You can find water anywhere. Walmart Garden Center even, the people there are really nice. Usually they'll just let you fill up your tanks. So yeah, that's an expense that you don't really have to worry about. I do keep some water on board while we travel, like drinking water, some bottles and jugs and stuff that I buy from the store, just because I love having extra water on board for drinking purposes. And washing your hands and stuff, and just kind of monitor your water usage whenever you're not hooked up to water. So, but again, you can find it for free everywhere. Another expense that we have to take into account is also our propane. We do use propane to run our refrigerator, our water heater, and our furnace. So it really just depends. And learning how much propane you go through is really one of the big challenges in figuring out how much propane you're supposed to bring with you. We do carry 4 of those barbecue, I think I have them right here, 4 of those with us, full all the time. We have paid some extremely high amounts of money for propane in East Texas, West Louisiana. I guess it was like for 2 tanks, we paid almost like 50 or 60 bucks. I mean, it was ridiculous. Where in Washington we paid $30. It was $15 per tank, and we had to get a new tank every time. It was cheaper. And then we found a place here in Arizona we'll fill up, and it only cost us $16 or $18 to fill up 2 tanks. So I mean, that is a very varied expense between what kind of tanks you're holding, you know, and where you're at. I mean, keep your eye out. I know there's some apps I think that you can download that actually tell you the closest propane and the prices. Have nice tanks, obviously, you know, don't have some rusty tanks. That way, because filling up does save you a ton of money. So that is one of those expenses that, you know, a lot of people forget about as well. So if we're plugged in and my fridge is able to stay plugged in, and I'm just using maybe my water heater, sometimes my stove, because if I'm plugged in, I do try to use my toaster oven more, because I'm already paying for that electricity usually. I can save propane. I can go 2 months almost on 2 tanks. It just really depends on, you know, how cold it is and stuff, and, you know, how often we're taking showers, you know, and that sort of thing. So, you know, because of the water heater and stuff. So it's really, really varied, but you can make it stretch or burn through it, you know, as much as you want. It just really just depends on the family and your needs and how many people are with you. So yeah, that's another expense too, that you have to, you know, think about. So, you know, we could spend anywhere from $60 a month to, you know, $15 a month to nothing, you know, if we have full tanks. So just something else to keep in mind. Now this next expense, I don't really know, you know, I guess it might not even apply to everybody, because it's really like if you want to have it or not. But internet. So we do pay more for internet than we did when living in a house. Like we paid $80 a month in our house when we lived out in the country and had internet. Now we pay about $200 a month for the Unlimitedville hotspot, the blue AT&T plan. But that's an expense I don't mind paying. We use it for everything, and it's never failed us except for the 3 months that we were in the Redwoods. But we just disconnected then anyway, and it was awesome regardless. So we didn't have that $200 bill for 3 months. It was great. Saved some money. Also during that time, we ditched our phones, our $200 AT&T plan, and we picked up a track phone. We're always together, so we just have this little track phone from Walmart. We pay $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, 6 GB data, and then we just share the phone. And then we have our, you know, original phones that we've always had that we use on our internet. So we can Skype. I mean, there's all kinds of ways you can do stuff for free, you know, on the internet. So anyway, next up is insurance. I think insurance is a must. As somebody who went through a total loss house fire, a few fender benders when I was working in the corporate world, I always have insurance. We do have commercial insurance on Shitty Bank through the Krabs Homestead business. We pay $56 a month. It's a $100,000 liability only, though. There are some rumors that there's some Skoolie insurance-friendly companies that are starting up. Ours right now is through Progressive. Good Sam is another big one that that people use, and I know there's a bunch out there. Just do some searches on those Skoolie forums and stuff. But even if you're an RVer, you know, having insurance on your rig or your tiny house, I think is really important. You know, at least, you know, just in case things happen. For me, we just have, I guess, crappy luck, so we always have insurance. And I think as far as, you know, how much you pay, I mean, I guess it just really depends on what your budget is and how much stuff you have inside. We also have like property insurance to cover our property that's in our storage unit, but as well, you know, what we have riding here in the bus. So, which again, you're traveling, there's always the possibility of, you know, getting burglarized. So, you know, I think it's important. Another thing to note too is we actually just got Good Sam roadside assistance. I think it was like $80 for a year, which includes, you know, percentages off, 10% off at a lot of RV parks and campgrounds. But we did it just mostly for the towing roadside service, just in case. That was kind of a big reliever for Ryan, I think, us getting that just in case we do break down. We do have the truck, we can tow it, but we don't want to put that on the truck, you know, so that I think was just great for the peace of mind. It's a pretty good company to get involved with, I think. So again, insurance I think is definitely a must anytime you're traveling or driving a vehicle in general. And next on my list is going to be laundry. Because we are a family, we do have laundry. We can have months where we don't pay anything for laundry, where I'm paying $60 a month for laundry. It just really depends. Again, you know, if you're staying near friends and family, a lot of times, you know, they let us use their washer and dryer. When we first started off, I had my hand washer, and we would just hand wash, and then I would go to the laundromat, you know, every now and then, and that would be, you know, $30 to $60, depending on what kind of loads I was doing. And then, you know, some RV parks have little laundry facilities, you know. Again, I mean, it costs like $1.25 to wash, $1.50 to dry, you know, things like that. And, you know, so that can add up. So, you know, if you do as much, you know, hand washing, or if you have your own washer and dryer in your bus, we did get the Costway washer and spinner combo that we're going to take on the road with us. So that has been saving us a ton of money in laundry cost. So, you know, just another one of those things, you know, it can cost as much money, I guess, as you want it to. You don't have to spend anything, you know, on laundry. I do like fluffy towels every now and then. So, you know, we do our beddings and comforters and stuff at the laundromat sometimes. So the next one we will talk about is going to be food. Obviously everybody's got to eat, everybody has a different diet. We tend to eat out a lot more if we're traveling because it's easy. If we're at a truck stop, you know, there's usually something in there we can grab. However, there's a lot of times where we don't, and we just have a lot of food to, you know, that's easy to prepare while we're on the road. Because we are on solar and propane, we can use our stove to cook when we're stopped somewhere or whatever. But you know, sometimes the convenience of just being able to eat out, it just costs money, you know, and you can be frugal about it if you want to. I have found that there's tons of RVers that don't even use their kitchens, and they're actually really nice kitchens, but they don't even use them. So I can only imagine what their food bill is. But whatever, to each their own. We do cook a lot. I love using my kitchen. I made the counters, you know, as big as they are specifically so I can cook. We do save money cooking. It is cost effective when you have a family. And I've actually gotten really good at, you know, not cooking as much. I used to have a ton of leftovers, and now I've gotten to where we have just enough for the meal, or we'll have a little bit of leftovers for the next day. You know, so that's another way we cut our costs too. And the final expense, I think, is like super important and probably one of the most overlooked is going to be your maintenance. That is an expense that can happen kind of out of the blue, or it can be an expected expense. We're about to change the oil on Chitty Bang. This will be the second time we've changed the oil since we've owned her. And I guess it's been about once a year. So we did an oil change before we got on the road. I guess it cost a little over $100, I think, or maybe right at $100. She takes a lot of oil, you know, and then obviously, you know, you got your transmission fluid, your radiator fluid, all that maintenance. We bought brand new tires for the bus as well. That was a big expense. I think it was about $300 a tire, and she has 6. And then we installed them ourselves. I think it was going to cost just an extra $300 to have them install it, but we wanted to know how to do it, so, you know, more power to us, I guess. So, you know, maintenance is something, a lot of transmission issues, and that is really pricey, you know, so, you know, maybe saving some away, you know, or you know, make sure you're you're checking your fluids, your batteries. We replaced our battery. When we first got the bus, we replaced the one, but then we added another. We've added a battery charger to that since then, you know, for maintenance. So there are some other smaller costs. Focus on the preventive maintenance that you can control first. You know, we bought a scan gauge for the bus whenever we first bought her. When we were picking out a bus, there were 4 to choose from. So, you know, Ryan bought a scan gauge off of Amazon for the international the internationals that we were looking at, you know, to help us also gauge how well the engine is. So just do your due diligence. Ask some mechanics, you know, diesel mechanics. We have an awesome friend that's our go-to, Robbie. Miss you, guy. And anyway, yeah, that's something I think that a lot of people don't plan for. So just keep in mind that is an expense as well in the tiny house life. And that's it for my list of bills for a tiny house, bus, RV, rolling home that we have personally, and some of the costs associated with that. And you know, it all takes time, it all takes trial and error, and I really hope that the information helped you guys. Again, this was something that I was wondering about myself before we got on the road. So you can find all kinds of ways to save money, you can find all ways to blow money, but you know, the more you save, the more stuff you get to go out and do and experience, you know, with your family. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have an awesome day, guys. Later.